Lovely. Um, a question more onto the raga aspect and the notes aspect. How important is it to know the actual notes of the bhajans we want to sing so that we can sing each note correctly?
Brother Sanjay, I think you are the most qualified to answer this question. The harmonium guru here.
Oh, that's embarrassing. Okay, no problem. No, that's honestly, but that's nothing wrong with that. I'm happy to answer that. The truth is, no, you don't need to know the actual notes in terms of names. Yeah, I could replace the words of the bhajan with the names of the notes, right? So then in my brain, I'm interchanging them. As long as I'm aware that it's not me in my distance, there's a set distance between the notes, right? So out of those 12 notes, there's an equal spacing and frequency of half note distance between each of them, right? To get anyone with a harmonium brain moving, like if you pick any of those notes and you take whole, half, whole, half, that gives you a major scale from that note. Okay, so as a singer, let's say I have no concept of the notes, as long as I'm listening for the distance in those notes, right? So if I take let's take a complicated idea. If I take Brahmandanayaka Baba, it might sound nice because it sounds complicated and musical, but I've understood that there's a difference in those notes. So I'm playing the harmonium with the voice, and then mixing it all together, right? So from the beginning, it's not a song, it's a roadmap, right? So being familiar with the tune is a thing. And to be honest, we have some very senior uncles, for example, at our center, who have no heads and toes about the idea about the harmonium, but they sing in the same pitch every time because they're so well practiced. They're singing in the shower, they're singing in the car. Their voice has no choice but when they get to the Sai Center to replicate that practice. So that practice is enough. And Baba has actually said that practicing the bhajan is enough practice. You don't have to go into bass practice and riyaz, and it's good, it helps, but practicing the bhajan is the main thing.
And
Over and
if you
over.
have any issues with like coming up with the notes and how to find the notes itself, don't be afraid to go to your harmonium player at the Sai Center after Bhajans. Just sit down with them.
Sorry, Erwin, one other thing is you can look at these resources. Like if you're not sure, and even the harmonium player is not sure, you're in two minds of it, go to Radio Sai, go to these resources that actually map out in any notation you want, what is the notes? And it's not up to Sanjay or there's a decisive way. And it's better we use these third-party materials to find out, hey, what are the words? And we make it a habit that we research. One of the sisters was asking in the group, how do we know the updated words? And it's very nice that we research these things and we're aware that it's Shamala Komala and Raghava Mohana and these things. It's nice to know. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I forgot I was asking the questions. Okay. So why is a deity structured followed? And ending with Hanuman and Kartikeya? Can we not have Ganesh and continue with no specific structure? Rushi, I think you should tune in on that, and I'm more than happy to chime in if not.
Sure, yeah, I'd love to answer that one. As we have said, all the bhajan, the guidelines that we've given, we are saying that, even as per the individual session, right, individual bhajan, the way that particular bhajan is sung in Parthi is the way we should be singing it here. I think that applies to the overall session as well. In Parthi, there is no such rule that it has to be Ganesh, Guru, Devi, and then, at the end with Hanuman Kartikeya. The only rule that is followed in Parthi is that the bhajan session starts with the Ganesh bhajan. And after that, it is completely dependent on the raga, the tala, and, not having the same deity back to back, not having the same raga back to back, not having too much of the same beat structure back to back as well. And so while it may be nice to follow these formats, and I'm sure, there have been various, traditions that have been built into us, but if we really boil it down to the key guidelines of how Swami himself has ran bhajan sessions and how bhajans have been presented to Swami in Prashanti Nilayam and elsewhere, these guidelines were never really in place because in Parthi, you could be singing bhajans, you could be literally be in the middle of a bhajan and Swami will just call for arti. I have been personally witness to this happening. Gopala Radhalola Murali Lola, and then Swami will just raise his hand. Murali Lola Nandalala Om Jai Jagadhish Hare Swami Sathya Sai Hare. Of course, we don't have that level of spontaneity in our Sai centers, right? But that just goes to show that following this, having this format that we have to end a bhajan session with Hanuman and Kartikeya, it would be better if we break out of these molds. Yes, we start with the Ganesh Bhajan, but then following the rules of not having consecutive deities, having a variance of speeds and languages even, I think is more important than sticking to the deity structure.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that, in Prashanti, the only standard they started with Ganesh Bhajan. That was different. We started Ganesh, absolutely. After that, there was no protocol. So if it's good enough for Swami, I think it's good enough for us. Okay, next question. I'll answer this question and we can just move on. I think it's a good one. Bhajan coordinators sometimes give criticism in front of others, and it's not positively given, maybe not constructive feedback, maybe they're hurt. How do you handle coordinators who do that? So I'll answer the question. I don't think we need to make so long about this, but coordinators should have a responsibility to coordinate and make it loving and make sure it's reciprocal. I think the same thing has to happen on the listener's end. So when we get in there, we're not going to get powdered every time. It's a construction time. So I think we have to go in there with a mindset of thinking, how do I learn? How do I help? I have to be a sponge in that. So when someone says something critical, especially when it's mean, I found that when I look back, even though it hurt my ego at the time, it's probably some of the best feedback I've heard. When someone says, hey, brother, I couldn't hear what you were saying. And I say, man, it's not about you. It's about me and Baba. Really about a person's heart. So if they didn't hear that, right? So these things all together matter, that other people matter first. You guys want to add to that, or can we just move on? Yeah.
Pretty much touched upon it.
We're all a family. We call ourselves a Sai family for a reason. And so if feedback is offered from both sides, right, we should feel free. We should feel the humility that we are only receiving feedback from our own brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, mothers, fathers, right? So,
I think if you gave that feedback in private, that look, brother, you gave me that feedback. I know that I'm supposed to learn, but I took it hard. Maybe I'm learning. I think they'll take that very well and they'll adjust. It'll be okay. Everyone's quite understanding, I find.
Yeah.
What if someone wants to sing it? This is along the same line of communication understanding. We're stitching these questions together so that they make some sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if someone wants to sing a bhajan slowly that they've practiced and they're emoting? Should the instrumentalist speed it up because they think it should be faster? I think Erwin or Janisha, if you guys want to chime in on this.
Yes. Janisha, go for it.
Okay. Go ahead, and I'll add. Yeah.
I think it all comes down to if how you practice the bhajan itself. Was this, when you practiced it, did you keep in mind the native tempo of the bhajan? The only reason why we would speed it up as an instrumentalist or a double player or harmonium player is if that bhajan itself was supposed to be sung at a faster pace. Mm-hmm. If that's the baseline of the bhajan is supposed to be sung at a faster pace. If it's not, and it's also like we try to keep in mind, if you're singing in the last hour of Akhanda Bhajan, for example, or in the last 10 bhajans of Akhanda Bhajan, you have a responsibility that no, you can't start your song slow. You're going to be going fast because we need to end the session on a high level. Because imagine, yes, it can be about like your bhava and keeping, you can go on and on about that. But if because you've practiced it, I want to beautify it, and then suddenly it drops the entire speed of that session, you are now responsible for dropping the energy of the entire session, right? So that's how I see it.
And also,
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. Maybe it tunes in together. So, it's true that when you want to add up a fast bhajan, and keeping up that pace is also one thing, but you have to be open to adapting, right? When it comes to bhajans, sometimes each bhajan will have their own structure, their own foundation according to how it was actually mapped at the first. But there are times you could use that variation into special occasions and actually uplift the energy because you are comfortable, but there's a place where adaptation is also present to make the beauty of that bhajan even more valuable to the whole session itself. Mm-hmm. So being aware that it's just not one-way stream, but a both two-way stream here, right?
And then one thing I wish to add, Sister Janisha, is there's a reason why we end the session with Aarti, and the Sathya Sai Aarti that we sing, we can literally do a whole session on just the Aarti itself, but to keep it short, the Sai Aarti, the Sri Sathya Sai Aarti is so unique. All other Aartis for different deities are long, they sing it slow. But the Sai Aarti is done within 3 minutes. And there's a reason why we sing it fast, right? We generally never sing the Aarti as Om Jai Jagadish. It's always fast. Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Because that is the ultimate finale of the bhajan session.
Mm.